So it's halftime on Sunday Night Football right now, Seattle versus Carolina, and I just wanted to give a little rundown on the games that have gone on today. I got my NFL app open right now, looking at today's final scores, and I just want to recommend everybody out there who's a football fan the NFL app. It's very efficient. Not only can you follow games, see what games are upcoming, but it's filled with breaking news. And they're not endorsing me to say anything like this. It's just me liking a product and recommending it. So here we go. I'm going to start at the top of my list. We'll start with Miami versus Baltimore. I already talked about that. Baltimore had a breakthrough day today. Scored 38-6. Miami was not able to score anything until the fourth quarter, where they hit one touchdown and missed the extra point. After that, we got what I think is probably the game of the day, maybe even the week. This wasn't televised until after the Ravens game, where I saw the final moment of it. But I did follow the scores and the big plays and all that. Kansas City actually at Atlanta, and Kansas City came on top at the end, 29-18. Big interception at the end is what caused the win, and that's the one game that I was actually kind of worried about. I'm a Ravens fan, die hard, but I like the Kansas City Chiefs. They're probably third on my list. Probably go Ravens, Seahawks, Chiefs, and I was worried coming in this game, but the Chiefs prevailed, so kudos. Then we got San Francisco in Chicago. In this game, I was actually surprised at the outcome. Chicago beat San Francisco 26-6. I don't know. I just thought Kaepernick would have had a better day that day, but apparently it was Jay Cutler's day. So then we got Cincinnati versus Philadelphia, and Cincinnati won 32-14. It was looking to be a shutout game at one point, but Philadelphia did end up getting some points on the board. Then followed up by Green Bay beating Houston in a very snowy weather game, 21-13. Then we got Denver in Jacksonville, 20-10. New England 26-10 over the LA Rams, and I paused there for a second because I wanted to figure out how I was going to say this, because Tom Brady ended up breaking Peyton Manning's record today. Asshole. I'm not a very big fan of Tom Brady, mainly because he's that good, and there's a lot of controversy around his name that I don't really appreciate, because some of it I do believe, and that's just that. So, alright, following that, we got Detroit versus New Orleans, where Detroit was in New Orleans and beat the bricks off of them, 28-13. And what I'm hearing is Drew Brees was not able to complete one touchdown all day. That's pretty sad. Alright, so that concludes the 1 o'clock games. We move on to the 4 o'clock games, the midday games. First on the list is Buffalo in Oakland, which, when I was watching the scores on this game, looked to be Buffalo's game, surprisingly. It looked like we were going to have the upset of the year, maybe. But in the second half, towards the end of probably the third quarter, Oakland turned the game around and ended up being 38-24. I mean, what can you say? This Oakland team has really turned themselves around from the past few years. Amazing. So after that, we got the game that I actually watched for the 4 o'clock hour. This was Washington Redskins versus Arizona Cardinals, and it was in Arizona. And it was a very back-to-back game for a while. It started off with Arizona looking strong. Washington took the lead mid-game. Arizona took it back again. I think Washington took it back one more time, but then at the end of the game, Arizona just played lights out and finished the game 31-23. So here's another game that I was actually looking forward to. the game, well, more or less my preference of an outcome, not necessarily the game itself. It was New York Giants, and they were at Pittsburgh. I wanted Giants to win, of course, just to keep Ravens number one in the division higher than it already was. Unfortunately, for most of the game, Steelers were shutting them out. It ended up being 24-14. Okay. We're still number one, but okay, whatever. So, Giants take the L. They have to play the Cowboys next week, so kudos to them, I guess. I don't know. Then we got the pesky Buccaneers playing in San Diego. And I say pesky because last week they beat Seattle. The week before that, they beat Kansas City. Some of the best teams in the NFL, but two of my favorite teams. And again, they won 28 to 21. Didn't get to see any of the highlights, but they're on a roll, and they now earn themselves an NFC playoff spot, or wild card spot, I think is where we're at right now. But they very well could take the lead, especially if Atlanta takes another L. So that's where we're at as far as games that have already happened. Right now it's third quarter of the Carolina in Seattle game, and Seattle is up 30-7, and I predicted that Seattle was going to beat the bricks off of Carolina. Reason being is that with Carolina having their phenomenal year last year, when they did beat Seattle in the playoffs, they disrespected Seattle by apparently ripping down one of their signs that Seattle fans in Carolina had and somehow shooting it into the crowd. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But Richard Sherman did speak on it, so I'm sure there is some truth there somewhere. And like I predicted, it's getting kind of ugly. Not as ugly as that Baltimore and Miami game. I'm really surprised at that, but it's getting ugly. And I'm proud of all my teams today so far. Baltimore, Seattle, Kansas City, all looking like they're taking home the win. Now, we already had Dallas versus Minnesota, which I feel like the refs kind of cheated Minnesota in that game. And that a lot of people say things like that, and it seems to get repetitive at times. But I feel like in this game specifically, there was blatant signs of refs catering to a team that's red hot to keep them red hot. I feel like that's something that the NFL has been doing lately in order to keep hot teams on top, in order to keep the revenue for them high. Because it's all about them dollar bills, y'all. It was a close game, 17-15. And I feel like at the very end, Minnesota should have ended up on top, but they didn't. And it is what it is. You really can't control it. I might just be, talking conspiracy here, but it's just how I feel. And last game of the week will be tomorrow, Monday night, Indianapolis versus New York Jets in New York. I feel like this game should decide whether Indianapolis is going to end up in the playoffs or not, because even though Texans are running the division, Tennessee and Indianapolis aren't too far behind. I think Tennessee is actually a little closer now, but maybe not. But yeah, I think Indianapolis should win that game. However, we Baltimore fans, we know how it is to have an upset happen to us, especially to them pesky Jets. They'll lose all year, but then beat you when you need to win. So that right there concludes my summary for Sunday football. I'm going to finish watching this Seattle and Carolina game. Looks like it's in Seattle's favor. And after that, I'm going to watch the WWE SmackDown brand pay-per-view event, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. I may even review that at some point. I doubt it, because there's going to be a lot of other reviews on it, and I won't be able to do it tonight. But However, who knows? And if anybody's listening to this and they're, enjoying hearing me talk about things, they like hearing the recap, let me know how you feel. That way I'm more inclined to keep doing things like this, and I would just want to see if, if this is working or not, because it's something I figured I'd try out, and here I am trying it. So let me know how you feel. My name's Kevin Warner, and I will see you guys on the pages. Peace.